This morning, new scrutiny for Matt Gaetz, President-elect Trump's embattled pick for Attorney General. Mr. Trump has been reportedly reaching out personally to senators to ask them to back Gaetz' nomination. The now former Florida congressman resigned his seat last week, ending a House Ethics Committee's inquiry into a series of troubling allegations, which Gaetz has long denied, including illicit drug use and sex with a then 17-year-old girl at a Florida party in 2017.
What I have said with regard to the report is that it should not come out. And why? Because Matt Gaetz resigned from Congress. He is no longer a member.
The House Ethics Committee in the past has released reports of individuals who resigned from Congress. You're a man of faith. You're a man of God. You're a man of family. With some of these nominees, Gaetz, Hegseth, RFK Jr., I wonder, does it matter anymore for Republicans to think of leaders as people who are moral in their personal lives? Is that still important to the Republican Party?
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and let me ask you something. When you hear about someone calling themselves a man of God, what comes to mind? Maybe you picture someone who acts with integrity, someone who walks the walk, who stands for truth and justice, and who leads with compassion. That's what it should mean, right? I mean, we shouldn't exactly have pastors compromising biblical principles and preaching that Kamala Harris is of the devil while claiming Donald Trump is sent by God. But here we are. And much like those sellout pastors who promote extremist sermons just to keep their church parking lots full of Trump Vance bumper stickers, Mike Johnson is doing the same thing. He's giving lip service to God while supporting a rapist and a criminal.
Tonight, a lawyer for two women tells CBS News that Matt Gaetz paid them to have sex with him, and that one of his clients says she witnessed Gaetz having sex with a minor at a Florida house party in 2017.
Leppard said she and another woman he represents alleged they attended between 10 and 15 parties and were compensated for travel with Gaetz to the Bahamas and New York. He says the committee has Gaetz' Venmo and PayPal transactions that allegedly show payments for sex and text messages where he refers to illegal drugs in code words.
There's a very important protocol and tradition and rule that we maintain that the House Ethics Committee's jurisdiction does not extend to non-members of Congress. The Speaker of the House is not involved in Ethics Committee work, can't be, shouldn't be, because the Speaker can't put a thumb on the scale or have anything to do with that. So I have no idea what the contents of this report would be.
It's not far off from the crowds who chose Barabbas over Jesus. Let that sink in for a minute, because that's what we're seeing with Speaker Mike Johnson. He's the opposite of integrity, the opposite of justice. He's out here blocking the release of the House Ethics Committee report on Matt Gaetz. And this isn't some minor procedural issue. We're talking about a man with allegations of serious misconduct hanging over his head. A man accused of behavior so vile that it should disqualify him from holding any position of power, let alone being nominated to lead the Department of Justice. But here's Mike Johnson smiling through it all, pretending like he's doing the right thing. And when Jake Tapper called him out, Johnson had the nerve to double down. Tapper didn't mince words. He said, "You are a man of God. Act like it." And let me tell you, Tapper wasn't wrong. Johnson claims he's just following tradition, saying the Speaker of the House doesn't interfere with Ethics Committee matters. But in the same breath, he's out there saying that the report on Gaetz shouldn't be released. So which is it, Mike? Are you hands-off, or are you actively helping Gaetz dodge accountability? Because you can't have it both ways. And let's talk about this man of God routine for a second. You can't claim to uphold Christian values while protecting someone accused of exploiting minors. You can't tell people you're standing up for families when you're actively working to harm them. This isn't just hypocrisy. It's a betrayal of the very principles Mike Johnson claims to stand for. And then there's Matt Gaetz. Let's not forget who we're dealing with here. This is a man accused of having inappropriate relationships with minors. There are allegations of sexual misconduct. And do you remember when we heard about Gaetz showing explicit videos on the House floor?
He was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night.
Yeah, that happened. Multiple people walked away in absolute disgust. One of those people was Senator Markwayne Mullen. Mullen said he saw those videos. He said he heard Gaetz brag about his disgusting behavior. Mullen even called him out publicly, saying this is the type of man Gaetz is. But here's where it gets ridiculous. In the same breath, Mullen says Trump has the right to appoint whoever he wants.
I do respect President Trump's the right to appoint to these individuals, but underneath Article 2, Section 2, Congress has to advise and consent. And Matt Gaetz is going to go through the same scrutiny as every other individual, and I'm going to give him a fair shot just like every individual. And at the end of the day, the Senate has to confirm him. I do think it's a very, very tough role. I've got a tough situation that I've got to set my personal opinions, and they're really not opinions. I got to set my personal situation with Matt to the side and look at the facts. If he's qualified, he's qualified.
Really, Mark Wayne? So you're just going to sweep all of this under the rug. You're going to pretend like none of it matters because Trump said Gaetz is his guy. What we're seeing here is pure lip service. Mullen knows Gaetz isn't fit for the job. He knows this nomination is a disaster, but instead of standing up against these terrible choices, Mullen is playing it safe. He's hedging his bets. And let's be honest, this is exactly what we've come to expect from the GOP. And speaking of Gaetz' background, let's not forget about the House Ethics Committee investigation. They were on the verge of releasing their findings on Gaetz' alleged misconduct. This wasn't some casual review. It was serious. It was about accountability, about making sure that those in power are held to the same standards that the rest of us are. But what happened? Gaetz resigned, abruptly, just before the report could see the light of day. Now, some of Gaetz' own colleagues, including members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, have said that they want to see that report. They've said it's crucial for the confirmation process, and they're absolutely right. The Senate has a duty to advise and consent on these nominations. How can they do that if they don't have all of the information? But let's be real. Mike Johnson doesn't want that report to come out. He's actively blocking transparency. Why? Because the GOP knows that if the public sees what's in that report, Gaetz' nomination is done. Let's not kid ourselves. This isn't just about Matt Gaetz. This is about the Department of Justice. This is about the integrity of our legal system. If the allegations against Gaetz are true, how can he possibly lead the Justice Department? How can we trust him to uphold the law when he spent his career dodging accountability? This isn't just a bad decision. It's an absolute dangerous one. And speaking of bad decisions, let's talk about Donald Trump's cabinet picks. Let's call it what it is. This isn't about picking the best and brightest. This is about loyalty. It's about picking people who will do Trump's bidding, no questions asked. Look up the lineup. Matt Gaetz, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard. These aren't qualified leaders. These are disruptors. And that's the point. Trump doesn't want people who will strengthen institutions. He wants people who will tear them down. But here's where it gets even more ridiculous. The GOP is out here acting like Trump is under attack. They're saying things like, Trump has the right to appoint whoever he wants, as if that's the issue. Nobody is saying Trump can't appoint his cabinet. Of course he can. What we're saying is that his picks are terrible. These are people who have no business leading federal agencies. They're unqualified, unethical, and in some cases downright dangerous. And instead of addressing that, the GOP is playing the victim card. They're creating this imaginary fight saying, oh, the Democrats don't want Trump to have his team. No, we just don't want his team to be a circus. And let's not forget Mike Johnson's role in all of this. Johnson is out here pretending like he's just following the rules, like he's some neutral party in all of this. But he's not. He's complicit. He's helping Gaetz and Trump avoid accountability, all while putting on this Man of God act. So here's the bottom line. This isn't about whether Trump has the right to appoint his cabinet. This is about integrity. It's about whether we're willing to hold our leaders accountable for their actions. Matt Gaetz does not deserve to lead the Department of Justice. Mike Johnson doesn't deserve to be the Speaker of the House if he's going to lie and cover for people like Gaetz. And the GOP doesn't get to claim the moral high ground while enabling this kind of behavior. It's up to us to demand better, to call out the lies and double talk, the hypocrisy. Because if we don't, this is the future we're signing up for. A government run by incompetence, corruption, and chaos. Stay informed, stay engaged, and don't let them get away with it. And that's a fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.